The Drum Candy Podcast is brought to you by Drum Factory Direct.
Welcome into episode 8 of season 3 of the Drum Candy Podcast. This is your host, Mike Dawson, coming to you from Drum Factory Direct in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is the first week of the month, which means it is time for another one of our 10 Reasons to Love episodes. I have David Throckmorton and Tom Wendt back in the studio, along with special guest James Johnson III. And this week we are doing 10 Reasons to Love Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy is the longtime drummer in the legendary contemporary jazz fusion world music group Yellowjackets, so a bulk of this episode focuses on his playing with that band, plus a few others. And if you're not familiar with Will Kennedy, or if you haven't listened to the Yellowjackets in a while, I'm guaranteed by the end of this hour you will be digging back through their discography. I know I spent a couple weeks deep diving through all these records. I knew most of them, but not as much as these guys do. So it was a lot of fun. Will's an amazing player. There's a lot to learn from him with taste and musicality and touch and supporting an ensemble. His sound is always really rich and gorgeous. So anyway, let's get to 10 Reasons to Love Will Kennedy. All right, 10 Reasons to Love Will Kennedy. We have a special guest, James Johnson III, in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We have to do a little bit of a history because I don't know your connection to Tom and Dave here. So what's the hookup here?
You know, I think we talked about this on one of the other podcasts. I remember meeting Tom about behind the balcony, and I can't remember the first time we met.
Oh, I do.
But I remember people telling us about each other, like just through the musicians, like through PT and other people, maybe through Tom even. But do you remember?
I feel like the first gig I saw you on, you were playing with Reggie in the Strip District at this place called Pluto's.
Oh, upstairs.
I remember Pluto's.
And Dave was wearing sandals, I think, on the gig. And
I believe that.
That sounds totally correct.
Yeah.
Summertime.
That might have been the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And do you know what year that would have been roughly?
No.
That would have been mid-90s. Mid to late 90s.
Because we were definitely hanging shortly after that.
Yep.
That was mid-late. That was 97, maybe 96.
I bet I met earlier than that.
You
though.
Probably did.
You know,
maybe?
I would guess
Okay.
it was like
I don't know what that
94,
gig-
I bet.
Yeah.
Maybe even 93, to be honest. Because I remember specifically talking to you about certain records that were kind of current.
Oh, okay.
And in my mind, I can remember them being like 93, 94 kind of records, you know.
All right.
And some of those records were these records.
Okay.
And not to get long-winded, but like the first time I saw, I was curious about this with both of you guys, because I was so into, you know, the guys I came up listening to. I was so into Gad, and that transitioned into Weckel and Vinny, and then all the stuff I'd hear on like pop radio and MTV. We've talked about that before, but I hadn't really checked out the Yellowjackets at all, and I saw them at Star Lake Amphitheater as part of the Mellon Jazz Festival.
Oh, yeah.
In '91.
Wow.
And they were supporting the Greenhouse record.
Yeah.
And they were. It was a long day of music. Roger Humphrey's group played early in the day, and it's funny because Take Six was there that day. Michael Franks was there that
with
day.
my folks.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I heard the band, and I was blown away. I was like, because I was so into Weckel, so into Vinny, Dennis Chambers, and I saw Will, and I was like, man, this guy's amazing. and then the next day, I went to the mall and where I grew up, one of the two malls where I grew up in Washington, PA, and I bought Greenhouse and The Spin on cassette. And I just freaked out. And it's like, I don't know what it was about Will in that band, but it was like really the band that got me into something new and led me to stop obsessing about the stuff I was so into. Like it was like I had a new thing.
That's really cool.
You know,
Yeah.
and then I found an article on him, and I realized that there were two other records before that: the Four Corners record, the Politics record.
Yeah.
And then so I had all those, and then for me it was like everything that came on after that I just obsessed about. But like, had you heard Will before that show?
No. See, there's funny thing you said that, because that was the first time I heard Will
That's amazing.
Wow.
live.
That's really
and my
cool.
mother and my dad were there. They took me there. Take Six was there. I remember that. And my mother went up to the stage, and then she came back to get me. I was sitting out back with my dad, and she said, "Hey, son, come closer to the stage. I want you to see this young man on the drums."
Oh, wow.
And she took me to the front of the stage, and I just stood there. And that was the first time. That was my first experience with Will.
How old
Wow.
would you have been?
I would have been 18, so you would have been, what, 14?
Yeah, 14.
And how old would have Will been then, do you think?
Jeez, I don't know.
I don't exactly know. This would have been 91.
I'll look that up while you're talking.
We could figure it out.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
So, were you blown away?
I was blown away.
Like right away?
Yeah, I was just standing. I couldn't move.
Yeah. Did you watch the whole show from that position?
I did. I stood down near the front of the stage.
Did you
31. You would have been 31.
Wow. That's crazy. So let me ask you this.
That's
Like,
amazing.
did you have a drum hero prior to Will?
Greg Humphreys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Who's a local
Yep.
Pittsburgh.
Roger's
Yeah.
nephew.
Nephew, yeah.
But like Greg Humphreys was like a major part of like my growth as far as like where it all started, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course my dad, but Greg was my first drum teacher. So yeah.
So that's crazy. We saw him
That's really
at the
cool.
same place.
Same place. That's the
amazing.
first time I saw Will, yeah.
Then did you do what I did? Go right out and start trying to find the records? Right after that?
No.
No. Wow, that's crazy.
I think my uncle Mike my uncle Mike
Michael Mike.
was responsible for like giving me the Jacket albums, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never knew
Yeah,
that.
Uncle Mike.
Do you know
Your
which
Uncle
one you
Mike
heard
did?
first?
Uncle Mike
Wow.
hit me first. Yeah, I know.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I know. This is weird. Uncle Mike Gibson.
So which one did you get first? Which record?
Probably. I
You
don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
interesting. Yeah, cool.
I don't know. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind. And then
That's amazing.
you and James were already hanging by that age.
Well, James and I went to high school together. We went to the Performing Arts High School. But I met James at the Mellon Student Jazz Weekend in, I believe, 1994. And I had heard about him because he was already playing a little bit around town.
Yeah.
And I had heard about him. And I remember meeting him, and I was like, oh, this is the guy I heard about.
Yeah.
And that's how we first met. But it wasn't until, I think it was 1 or 2 years later when I started going to Kappa, where we were hanging out all the time.
All the time.
And we were into like such different stuff, but that's what was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys turning each on
Yeah.
onto
And
new things.
we were just before we started filming, I can't remember, I think I might have heard Will's name.
Okay.
But I knew nothing about him really, and I had never heard him play. But James is the one that really introduced me, because I remember the first time I met you, I remember asking you, like, who are your favorite drummers? And I'll never forget what you said. You said, Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, and William Kennedy. And I'll never forget, you called him William, and I was like, William Kennedy? He's like, yeah, he plays with the Yellowjackets. And I had heard the name, but I had never heard the music.
Yeah.
And when I started listening, I mean, that's not really what I was into musically, but it's so great.
Yeah.
Like, I love the music. I mean, how can you not appreciate that, you know?
Yeah. Had you
I
heard him?
wasn't- Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
No, I was saying to bounce off, like I wasn't really checking out like drummers like
Yeah.
you guys were. I was checking out like songs and like, you know, I wasn't like checking out drummers, you know, not until like probably like middle school, high school.
Yeah.
But I should have maybe, you know.
That was the same for me. It wasn't until
Yeah.
middle school that I started to really,
or maybe even,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same here, kind of. Maybe a little touch, maybe a little bit younger for me. But
Yeah.
did you know about Will back then, or
It
no?
was just from seeing the first or second issue of Modern Drummer I got.
Oh,
He
wow.
was on the cover.
Oh yeah, that's,
Yeah,
I
remember that cover.
Yeah,
And I
used to-
cut his pictures out, hung it up
Same
on
here.
my bedroom wall.
Same here. Yeah.
And then I just started buying the records. I don't remember. I think I might have got what's the one with Ricky Lawson on it?
Oh, there's a couple with Ricky.
I think I
before
might have got
Will.
one of those first, and was
Yeah.
like, "What is this? What is this? This isn't what I wanted."
Yeah.
because you couldn't see the liner notes back then.
Oh right, so you didn't know which ones he was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think my dad had one or two of the earlier records with Ricky, and they never really. I was really young too. They didn't jump out at me. They were fine, but it wasn't until I saw the band with Will and then heard the records with Will. Then I heard an older record with Ricky, and I was like, "This isn't the same."
It's not the same band.
No, it's
I remember getting Four Corners and thinking like, oh, this is nice, it's good.
Yeah.
But then listening to like, you know, Blue Hats, and it's like it's a totally.
Well, I mean, Four
different
Corners
band.
is still Will though.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I meant
Before that,
Yeah,
Shades or
sorry.
one of those.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, everybody talks about the drummer makes the band kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I can't think of maybe like there's like Led Zeppelin with that, you think of certain things, but, I can't think of a band more important to the sound of a band,
Will.
a drummer being more important to the sound of a band
Yeah.
than Will in this
That
band.
was one thing I was going to mention is I feel like Will Kennedy is a band drummer in a fusion band, whereas like with Chicks bands, it's like Weckl is Weckl or Gad is Gad or Vinny is Vinny, but I feel like he's a band player. All his parts, it's all very musical and interactive, but he writes parts, he composes. I don't think he, like you said, that band is a vehicle for him, but not as like a featured artist.
Yeah, it's not so. The records aren't so
It sounds like a
soloish.
band to
It's
me.
just like about how he plays the music, and
Yeah.
I think there was this cleanness to his playing, coming out of being into Weckl and Gad and Dennis, those guys that I related to. But he didn't sound like them. You could hear that he had heard those kind of drummers, obviously.
Very different sound.
And I'd love to ask Will about this sometime if we talk to him again. It's like I hear a little bit of like Omar's playing in Weather Report. Like it kind of reminds me of it in a weird way, in that the way they orchestrate and come up with these parts. They seem really well thought out and crafted. It might just be like a natural thing that they just have a knack for figuring out what to play really quick. And it's funny. Like he seems less drummy to me than someone like
Yes,
Weckl with
I
the
totally
Electric
agree
Band.
with that. Yeah.
But the more you listen, there's so much
Oh, yeah.
drum stuff happening. Whether it's touch, sound, feel, groove,
I know for me,
compositional.
The first thing that hit me about his playing, other than how great it all felt, was the way he used cymbals. It was a little bit different. Like it was very personal. He used them. You use cymbals to color the music, but the way he did that was, to my ear, I remember thinking like, oh, that's unique the way he does that.
Yeah.
Very different than other drummers that played in that genre.
James, you play left-handed?
No,
No?
No.
You don't play left-handed?
I
thought you
don't
did.
play left-handed.
Why did I think you did? Maybe I've just seen clips of you
I
playing
wish.
left-handed.
No. It seems much more convenient. But
I grew up playing that way. Did you know
Did
that?
you?
Yeah, left. I like hi-hat.
No kidding.
But my ride was always here because
Okay.
I didn't know any better. But so some of that came easy, like the grooves. But I can't play the ride cymbal with my left hand to save my life.
speaking of what Tom said, you said, the way he plays his ride pattern. There's a track. We'll probably get to that.
It's not just the way he rides the cymbal,
but-
just how he uses them in general. But sorry.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought. Well, there might be a track to kind of demonstrate that.
I'm sure there probably will be.
Let's go there. What do you
Yeah.
got? Which one was it?
I was on the Cape Town one. Let me see.
We got
Savannah.
Savannah.
Oh yeah.
So what record is this from? Anyone?
This is from Blue Hats.
Blue Hats. Yeah.
All right, let me open it up here.
This came out when we were in 11th grade. I remember when you got this.
Yeah.
I remember when it came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You brought it to school.
Yeah. I feel like we were playing in the hallway.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, right?
Totally.
Little speaker.
See, I did that with Ramones.
With who?
That's amazing.
Does anybody play 6/8 better than Will Kennedy?
Yeah, man.
No, I don't think so.
Well, there's definitely no band that has more tracks, like utilizing the different variations of that
Yeah.
feel.
Oh man.
It just seems like
They live there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
it seems like he's just floating over the 6/8. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
You know, as it's so fun to talk about, like Will with you guys. I mean, especially with James, because it's like it's such a big, huge part of like our friendship over the years, like developing a friendship. It's just like having this thing you love together, you know. And there's this floating aspect which I agree with totally. What I always loved about Will and still love about him, there's also this like really rooted strength to his play.
No, totally.
While still always having the finesse. And that hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, so even when it's loose, it never feels like it's slipping away. It's always like total control. It's so rooted in this
That's exactly what
thick foundation.
Like his kick and snare are solid, and his hand just floats. You don't hear that with fusion drumming too often.
And the other thing too is his use of space is absolutely beautiful. Whether he's playing a groove or a fill or a solo, like he has such a beautiful sense of how to use that. Like, because as I listen to this group more, and I haven't listened nearly as much as you guys have, but there's so many parts of these tunes where a different drummer would
rip over it.
Would kind of ruin it. You know, but he knows when to kind of push forward and that's such a beautiful artistic gift, you know.
Yeah.
So that was off of Blue Hats?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the track was Savannah, for anyone following along. So Throck, you got 5 here, so let's get going.
Yeah, what's the order?
You got Invisible People,
What are they start?
Dreamland, Dark Horses. What do you
James, you should have picked 5. This is your man.
Huh? Wait.
I think he has
Doc
4.
told me to pick 3 Dennis's.
I think he has 4.
You got 4,
and I just picked it because I thought Mike was going to pick more.
No, it's cool. I'm just
well,
just running my mouth. I'm the hype
anything
man.
I picked, James. We
How
all
many
know
did
the
you
same
pick,
stuff.
Tom?
Yeah.
Well, the one that we're going to listen to, I totally would have picked.
Let's go like the earliest thing I picked, which would be this
Dark Horses?
which isn't even that early. This is from his 3rd record with the Yellowjackets. This is from the Spin.
All right, why'd you pick this one?
You know, we've talked about this in a bunch of these 10 Reasons to Love podcasts. You go back and start checking out these drummers you love. Sometimes it's really easy to pick things for obvious reasons. Sometimes it's hard. And with Will, it was hard in the way that, like, I just love it all.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find a special track. Because I don't think so much about, I learned to play this groove or I learned this fill. It's always just like, I love this music.
The music, yeah.
Especially, I think what's fun about these guys, like when we just did Gad and Weckel, now we're doing Will and Dennis, is these were guys that were such a part of my, like, learning to play the drums on a somewhat decent level. So it's that nostalgia, kind of like Wells with Rush. It's like it's your like coming of age,
of course,
learning how
absolutely.
to play. So I think as I just listened through stuff, certain things would jump out, like, oh, this is a good one. They're not super specific with me, but when I went back to listen to this one, I was just like, oh man, he just plays great all the time. So
This is the top of Dark Horses off of the Spin.
So it's kind of like what we just talked about. There's that
Floating.
floating element.
That's what I was talking about.
to it.
Another drummer would have filled up all that space.
It's not like he's playing simple,
Yeah.
He's not playing simple.
but it's not
right.
it's not
Right.
cumbersome and
No,
it's
no.
Not a
you
lot of
know?
hand-foot stuff. When he plays a kick, it's for me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's letting you know where one is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, it makes me want to start a Yellowjackets cover band. Jeez.
yeah, that would be super fun.
You know, I know you're really influenced by Will, but man, you have a lot of his sensibilities when you play. I've noticed that over the years. You know, James has a really nice sense of space.
That's yeah.
You
It's
know.
probably just listening to him.
It's that, man, but you know,
Dylan.
it's you too. You know,
What is he? Is he playing Pisces in this era?
Yeah, he played Peisty for a long time. You know, until his last record. So there was he's still in the Yellowjackets, but there was a period he left the band for a bunch of years.
Right.
So his whole first stint with the group was all Peisty up until the Club Nocturne record, which was the record before he left, where he started playing Zildjian.
And Sonars?
He was playing. It was like some early footage. He's playing a Sonar, then he played Yamaha for a second. I think he might even played Remo really early too, but then he switched to Sonar by like Greenhouse,
That's what I remember.
and
yeah.
then near the crazy leaning back mechanism, he was playing a Noble and Cool kit for a
Because
second.
of Bob Gadsden.
And then he switched to Pearl shortly after. There may have been a couple things in there in that transitional period where he tried other drums, which I don't know about. but like, this is all tied to nostalgia for me as well. It's like I kind of, in my brain, like I just think of him playing Peisty. You know, not that I'm a Peisty guy, but like that's the era that's the most special to me. You know,
So that drum frame thing, I had the honors of throwing it in the dumpster.
really.
Yeah, because it was left at the Modern Drummer Festival.
Really?
I actually tried that thing once.
Yeah, I remember.
did you really?
Yeah.
Where'd you try it?
What'd you think of it?
I can't remember, man. I just remember it was hard to put together, man. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I remember sitting at it at Drum World. They had a kit set up.
Did
on
they
it,
really?
And I sat in it, and I was just like,
Like, I don't want
Just
to feel
seemed
like I'm
odd,
in a lazy
you know?
boy when I'm drumming. Yeah, we had that thing in our product room at MD for years, and the owner kept saying, "What is this?" And we're like, "It was Will Kennedy's drum frame. What do you want to do with it?"
yeah,
Wow.
that's really funny.
Oh, I had a question. How many times have you guys seen him?
I've probably seen Will with the Jackets probably 8 times, 7 times.
Multiple for you?
Yeah.
So, like a tune like this, does he kind of stick to the script, or do you hear him really changing up the arrangement of his
Well-
own approach? Because that's kind of free, but also
This is a little looser song. Where it's not like a groove kind of song.
But whenever you're like, wow, he's going for it tonight, or
Well, I mean, I
is
think
it-
he kind of goes for it all the time in a way. You know.
or is it consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I think he kind of. I mean, what do you think, James?
I think they're all changing this song. I think that a song always evolves in that group. I mean, so of course, like you got Russell and you got Bob, and right now you have
Dane
in the
Bass
group.
player?
Yeah, but so I feel like you're forced to like change the song because I feel like everybody in that group is just such at a high, you know.
But I feel like also the identity of that band is so clear and so strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you hear it and you know instantly who it is, and you know they have a really.
You know, the other thing
Strong
about
thing.
these records, especially in this era, is they are recorded so beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean, the sounds on them are. If you listen to one of these records on a really good stereo system, I mean, they're incredible sounding records.
Yeah.
You know, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that piano vamp. Like, who wouldn't want to play that? You know, who wouldn't
Yeah.
want to play that? All right, let's go for another one of yours, Dave.
So if I'm. Let's check out this one.
Invisible People.
Yeah, so this is off
Oh,
of
yeah.
Greenhouse, and this is the first record I heard. I got totally obsessed with this. I remember.
This track makes me think of James.
I
Always.
remember walking
Always.
On repeat, man.
I know.
with I had one of those like yellow sport Walkmans.
Yeah, I remember those.
would,
I had one of those.
And I would deliver papers or walk to your girlfriend's house. Just be
Yep.
listening to this over and over. And this one I just picked. I just loved the way he gets into this feel and
Yeah.
just the compositional element of the parts he creates and just the sound and the feel he plays
Yeah.
them with. You
Yeah.
know.
So we're highlighting 50 seconds in to the track Invisible People off of Greenhouse.
Okay.
I will always and forever think of this guy when I hear that, man.
Yeah. It's, you know, I can get super long-winded, obviously, but there's such a beauty in his playing.
Oh man.
And one thing I want to say about this band is, like, especially as a young person, like a teenager, there was so much like positivity in this music. It just feels like
That's a great observation.
It just feels like majestic at times,
absolutely.
or really like kind.
Absolutely.
I know that sounds ridiculous,
No.
but and that always just it's like so.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I had like a better word. I feel like, but
It feels nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
A little bit.
you know?
Yeah, you were listening to this. I was listening to I Hate My Mom punk rock. So.
Yeah.
You hear him again in that song, just the space he uses.
Absolutely.
You know, it's still kind of like, I mean, it's still kind of loose up top, but there's like that ground.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You know, he's
and the groove
providing
is so
the groove.
strong.
Who does
when he
that
plays
better?
it.
Like
I
has
know.
that mix of
man.
this like
Yeah.
groove element with
pops.
this jazzier,
Yeah.
smooth,
Absolutely.
pretty feel.
Yep.
And I was nerding out on the reverb, like the pre-delay. It's just perfect. The mix
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
All right.
And
I'm
I'll
glad
say
you
too,
played that.
If I had to pick like one record of theirs, it would probably be Greenhouse.
Is that right?
I mean, there's so much great stuff, but that one
Yeah.
for me, it's like it was the first I saw him on that tour. I fell in love with that record.
Yeah.
All those strings and the Vince Mendoza stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Mincer had just got with them, so it sounded different than the earlier records.
Right.
And I love them all. You know?
That would be mine. Would be probably Like a River.
Yeah.
Really?
Which
I
is-
thought it would be Blue Hat.
Which is the
It'd be
next
Like a
record.
River?
That's the next record.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all great.
Did you pick anything off of Like a River, James? No. Oh yeah, you did. Suenos is off of Like a River, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to go there?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So why'd you pick this track?
I gotta hear it first. I don't even know.
You're like, yes, that one, but I'm not sure why yet.
Oh yeah.
Singles.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember why. I mean, not everybody, but when you mention the word Will Kennedy, you know, most or some guys will emulate the 6/8 groove or the funk, but Will can swing. I mean, you know, and it's obvious, but it's his. It's a Will swing.
He has
you know,
a unique way
it's a
of doing it.
unique
Sure.
way of
Yeah.
swinging.
Yeah.
So I was just shining some light on that, I guess.
There's some
And,
Elvin vibe in there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I think all that influence comes through Elvin, and he talks about
Tony,
Tony all the
yeah.
time. But that to me doesn't sound anything like him, and I think that's
It's Will.
one of the best things I can say about it.
Absolutely.
is like,
Sure.
so you were saying when we saw him for the first time, he was 31 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that was his fourth record with the Yellowjackets, so which means he probably made the first one at 26 or something like that.
Yeah, or younger,
27. He was developed then, and he sounded like himself, and to me doesn't sound like the other hot drummers of that time. He doesn't sound like Erskine or Omar or Dennis or Vinny or Weckel or Gad.
That's
You
true,
know?
man.
There is some secret sauce in him. What is his missing influences that isn't obvious, you know? There's
don't
something
know.
happening
I
there.
don't know. That's a good question.
It's and like even like the choices, like the setup was simpler generally, smaller. James and I was bothering James with some text recently of some old footage, like, have you seen this clip? Have you seen this clip? And there was a really early clip I saw of them playing either on the Four Quarters, like supporting that record, or the Politics. But it was kind of a big drum set. And I was like, whoa, I've never seen him play a big drum set before. And then I think I heard a recent podcast where he said, you know, initially I had a really big drum set, and then I realized I didn't need all this stuff. But and it's gotten even smaller now. Sometimes you see him play two cymbals, and 5-piece kit, you know. And selfishly, I kind of always see him playing the setup he played in this era, you know, and kind of yearn for that. But
Not the sideways ride.
yeah, not the sideways cymbal, but or the offset bass drum or all these things he's doing. Anyway,
I want to jump in on my one and only pick.
Yeah.
This is Freedom Land.
Oh yeah.
And
from Greenhouse.
I picked this in particular because, and we'll talk about it in the next episode with Dennis, I went down a rabbit hole of drum machines and sequences, and this was one of the tracks that really opened my eyes to how you could play live drums over a sequence. So let me open it up here. I even played this tune in college in an ensemble, and I got my Roland DR5 out and programmed the intro and all that.
Did you really?
Yeah,
That's
it
amazing.
took so long.
Wow.
Okay. See, just the way he navigates over electronics was my thing. Like, these ghost notes don't get in the way of the conga stuff.
Jay's not trying to hear the whole song.
You can listen on the way home later.
That's funny.
But and a lot of those records had percussionists on the records too, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like I would say with Will too. Like every time I've heard him play with a percussionist, it's never a clash.
Mm-hmm.
He just knows exactly what to.
Yeah, they're popping out in
to
like
do.
the sequence percussion. I'm pretty sure that's sequence because it's so.
I mean, Alex
I
is
don't-
on that record.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's sequence. Is it? I don't.
They could have made
Might have
something
been a
with
loop
a
out of
loop
it
or
or
something. Who
something.
knows? But
Yeah.
But I mean, Alex is on that record, and there's a bunch of guys on different records. You know, Paulina DaCosta and
Is Don alive?
I think Dana Vasconcelos maybe on
No.
something.
Okay.
I could be out of my mind saying that, but there's definitely some different
Yeah.
guys.
Well, let's see. Where do we want to go now? James, go to your third one here. We already did Savannah. We already did Sueños.
Let's
Yeah.
do that one.
The challenge.
Yeah.
All right.
Just yeah.
Cool. All right. Let me open it up.
I can't remember this one now.
You can't remember?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
This is off of One Music, right?
This is off of One Music. Yeah. Bachman's.
I gotta scroll in here.
I remember this record, but I don't have this.
This is great.
I remember when this came out,
It's
but
cool. It's like a Yellowjackets record under Bob. That's
right,
his name,
right,
you know?
right.
He wrote the tunes, but
I remember the cover art. Then I.
Don Elias, I think, is on this record.
That's the one with
so.
Don Elias. I
Yeah.
thought Don was on a record with him, but I couldn't remember which one.
So we're starting around 3:40 into the track, The Challenge. All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the
So
singles.
fast.
Yeah,
Just-
really.
So that's all
How he
singles.
gets them off. And
You know, it's
Yeah,
weird. It doesn't-
man.
it's fast. It's
It's
clearly fast.
fast.
But I always feel like it's more how he gets in and out of it.
Yeah,
That's what I just
absolutely.
said.
Impressive
yeah.
more than the
How he
the
just gets
single
in and out,
song,
yeah.
you know?
It's like a paint stroke. It's like a brush stroke or something.
Yeah.
You know, he's so it's so colorful the way he does it.
James mentioned earlier, people talk about the singles.
Yeah.
For me, more than the singles with him, it's the press roll.
Oh yeah,
That's
he's the master
that's
of
the
it.
one where I like. I would, there's like Art Blakey and there's Will Kennedy. Their use of a press roll.
Yeah.
I think one of the ones I picked, where's that list? It is kind of why I picked it in a way. Yes, this one, the title track off of Dreamland.
Oh yeah,
It's like these rolls.
that's
into
the one that's
sections.
at 5. It's like
It's in that. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
So what's the magic there? Because I think that could have been so aggressive and over the top.
there again.
But there's just like he scoops the middle out of his dynamics in a way.
he plays a lot harder now, in my
Yeah.
opinion, when I see him than
Really,
Before.
before.
Yeah.
really,
Sort of playing a bigger stick.
That's
Kind of
interesting.
hitting a little harder. I mean,
that's
Will
interesting.
might hear this and think I'm crazy, but I feel like when he was younger, when I see him, he was playing a little softer. The sticks were a little smaller.
Interesting.
So I think when he's playing these kind of burning tempos, like it always looked like he was just not working.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is something we all try to.
Relaxation is
point.
the key, man.
Yeah, and he
Should've
really
kept
had that
drum
together.
frame.
Yeah,
Not that relaxed.
I saw them once. It's a little funny story. James, you might have been at the show, or Tom, you might have been at the show too. I saw them a couple times at Rosebud in the Strip District.
I missed that.
I remember that, but I wasn't
They
there.
played there on the Lake River tour. They played there on the Run for Your Life tour.
Yeah.
And I think it was the second time I saw them. And they played one of those kind of up-tempo tunes that they would play way faster live, either downtown or out of town, one of those tunes. And Will counted it off like blazing fast, faster than I ever heard them play it. And they actually just had to stop, like about a minute into it.
Really?
They just stopped the tune. They were all laughing.
That's cool.
And then Will just brought it
Brought
back
it
to set. But it was unbelievubly fast. Like I was like, oh my God, they're gonna play this fast.
Wow.
And I'd heard them play it up before, but it was
Yeah.
crazy. And they just laughed
That's really cool.
and still played it really fast.
Right.
Have you guys ever done that? Like just count something off way too fast and everybody's like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yes.
I've had those feelings of like,
Sure.
we're in over our heads
Yes.
here.
Still to this day.
That's when you start trying to call audibles.
Yeah, what do you do? When everyone knows like a weekend.
It all depends on who you're playing with.
At halftime.
Yeah.
If you're no, really, if you're playing with great musicians, you can feel that together and do this or do that. It all depends on who you're playing with.
That's true.
If you're not playing with people who listen too good,
Have you ever had to just cut it short and be like, all right, let's get out of that one?
Yes.
Maybe.
maybe so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Been there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't going well, guys. Back
Well,
to the head.
you start
head out.
Let's go.
Guys will start shaking off solos.
Oh yeah.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
If I'm playing with Cliff and it's too fast, he'll just look at me.
Oh
and be
yeah.
like,
No.
he's like, no.
No.
Or I'm like, zzz,
Yep.
halftime.
Yeah.
Here you go. And he's like, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Which, and I'll wave him off too. It's like, I don't.
Man, sometimes Cliff will just stop and give it to you. He'll
Yeah.
just be like,
So yeah, let's check out Dreamland
Yeah.
and check out
This was
this like one of the most beautiful press rolls.
I know the
in
one
the
you're
history
talking
of
about.
recorded music. There's a few of them on this track.
Wow, when I think of press rolls, when I think of Blake, I think of crush roll, like he's just smashing.
Well, these are these beautiful swells
Yeah.
out near the rim where the head's all tight.
Who do I think of? Who do you guys think of as press rolls for press rolls?
I think of Blakey and Will Kennedy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think of a lot of drummers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, everyone uses them.
Yeah.
I mean, you use the hell out of them. I mean, in a great way.
No, I hear you. I don't. Yeah, I mean, definitely Art Blakey, but Art and Will certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right, so this is the beginning, the first minute of Dreamland. The record's called Dreamland, too?
Yep. Title track.
You talking about that first
No,
half a
no,
second?
that's a great one too. That's like a subtle one.
Yeah.
That's our highlight.
They're
Check it
all
out,
over
y'all.
the place.
That's a pickup press roll.
Yeah.
It's just a little
I'll
pickup.
show you the one though.
I know the one you're talking about. I remember this.
Also, I think his cymbals are a key part of it, too, because they're all high end.
That's that Pisces thing.
Yeah.
Pisces.
You know.
It goes, that splashy.
He played
thing.
nylon for a long time too.
Really?
Not for a long
I
time
didn't know
before he
that.
made a signature stick come out.
Interesting.
This might be Wood's tip though.
All right, so we got a little taste of a
Yeah.
buzz roll. Here
There's
we go.
I mean, if you hear the whole track, there's probably 40 of them. In there.
you know, because what's like you said before, what makes it beautiful is that how he comes out of it.
Of course,
like that's going to make what happens beforehand, you know, much more beautiful. You
That's
know what I mean?
right.
Just how he just
and how it just
it
just
crescendos or
just like where did it come from?
There's an open hi-hat right before it.
I mean, I've stole that so much.
We gotta listen to
course.
it again.
You know,
we gotta listen to it.
Yeah, you gotta hear that again.
Because you would miss it if you're not really paying
And he
attention.
plays it a few times in the song.
He even does it in the beginning.
Yeah.
What a beautiful tune too.
Let it go. Come on, man.
That's what you do right there.
So is that a left-hand open hi-hat or is that a foot splash?
It's probably left hand open hi-hat.
So he's kind of starting the roll on the hat, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and you know,
That's a little tricky thing there.
he's
You can
a
sneak
tricky
the beginning
drummer,
of the
man.
roll when you hit that open cymbal. It kind of blurs the.
Yeah, he's the master of
attack.
getting in and out of that. Really.
Well, it's a brilliant way to not have to worry about getting a super clean, soft start to that roll.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like you're giving yourself some cover.
It's magic.
So you get the
Something-
roll
something hangs
started
over.
while that splashes, and then you know, it's beautiful, man. That's how you do it. You know?
Yeah.
That's the kind of drum licks I want to practice.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's so useful and it's so
Yeah.
musical.
Oh man.
You know?
yeah.
And I think, like we said this before about some of these drummers, whether they're like classic jazz drummers or some of these guys that play more like what I grew up listening to, some of these fusion jazz drummers. All the guys I love, it's all because I love the musicality in their playing. It's never like, oh, he can play super fast or he can play, you know, whatever. Like stuff I think a lot of drummers are focused on. It's for me, it was just like, wow, this band is incredible. And who could make this music sound? He's given them the most to get the most out of that music.
100%. Yeah.
I don't even know why this popped in my head, but when I got my first computer and the internet, Will was one of the first people that made himself available online that I remember.
Really?
Because you could email him and ask him a question, and he back and forth for me like several times. I'd just gotten his signature sticks.
Wow.
I could ask Will some questions, and he got back to me.
Nice.
That's
At one
really
point,
cool.
I printed them out and kept them for a long
That's
time.
really cool.
That must have been 96, something
Wow,
like that.
man. So we were still in high school then.
Yeah, I just
we should say
remembered
too,
that.
man. Like, I mean, because you just met James today, right?
Yeah, literally walked in my garage.
I mean, I met Will a couple times briefly at shows, but then finally got to hang with him a little more detail because James had
Yes.
kind of struck up a friendship / like
Well,
hero kind of thing.
I remember in high school, I remember when you wrote him for the first time.
Yeah. 97.
You
Or
wrote him a
96,
letter, and I
yeah.
remember you showing me the letter before you mailed it to him. You were like, "Man, I'm gonna see if Will gets back to me." And I was
Yeah.
like, "That's really cool," you know.
Yeah, I can't remember. That was my first encounter with Will. Was first time I met him was when he played East Liberty at the
Kelly Strayhorn
Kelly
Region
Strayhorn,
Theater back
which was
then.
called
And
the
that
Region.
was
Yeah.
What album was that? They
That
were doing.
was Dreamland tour.
yeah,
I'm
it
sure.
was
That was
Dream.
Dream. Yep, because they played
Yeah,
that Mcferrin
Dreamland.
track. You know,
Was Dreamland before Blue Hats?
one before.
One before. That's right. That's
Yep.
right. That's right.
Because they played Graffiti when they came on Dreamland on Blue Hats.
Okay.
Yeah, and he came off stage and I got his autograph and all that, and then I remember saying, you know, when you come back to Pittsburgh, can we link up? Because when he did, and when I saw that the Jackets were coming back, that's when we bought him an AMI in '97.
I remember.
And then we went to like dinner that night, I think.
Probably.
Like your parents, Will, me.
Yeah.
I
Were
wasn't.
you there?
No, I was at Manhattan School of Music.
Yeah.
But I remember
I forgot
you.
about that.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about it, James.
Yeah.
I remember you calling me saying like, "Man, Will's going to do a workshop at
At
AMI." I was like,
AMI.
"Oh, it's awesome."
Yeah.
I think
I
that was
wasn't
in,
here,
I
but-
think that was 97.
It was
'Cause I was-
September
it
of
was
Because I was
97.
playing in that
was
rock
97.
band at the time, and I remember
Yeah.
going to see it. Yeah, amazing.
Wild. I think we have one more of yours, James.
I think I have one more too.
Did we do all these with these hands?
No, we still have that left.
And then you have two
And we
more.
have.
Kids'
shoot.
Stories.
We have
Two
both
more.
of these too.
Let's do one more of yours, and then we'll go to James.
Let's do this one. And I have two little sections.
Bobby
of the same song.
Mcferrin. All
Yeah.
right, let me pull it up.
I know James loves this record.
This record.
Oh, this was the other one that you used to play all the time at school.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my gosh.
This one, like,
Yeah.
there's
Bang
like a-
Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the like. I mean, I've stolen so much stuff from it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I hear you. It's a great record, man.
You
It's
know,
a
I think when
beautiful
you were in
record.
my house hanging, I played a second
Yes,
of this one. I
we
was
were
like,
listening
man,
to it.
I was like, I gotta use this one.
Oh man.
So
I do not know this record at all. So beginning the first minute, you say?
Okay.
Ish.
come on. This, yo.
Yeah.
I go, so, man, it's like what you said earlier. So much space and so patient and
Yeah.
so grounded, like we talked about.
I feel like Will he can make playing the kick on 2 and 4sound so good. And there's just a lot of songs that he's playing 2 and 4,
Sure.
but he knows exactly what songs to play 2 and 4. And there's all the stuff that he plays in between. That you know, that's you know what I mean.
He's kind of a real, like, as far as like grooving kind of music, like more straight music, not swinging music. He's so good at like not playing the obvious thing and not playing playing over things, but not making it overly complicated ever. Just that thing where he's like,
You know, in a,
it's just like, man, those anticipations. It's like
oh, it's
that's part of
amazing.
my DNA, man. Like it's all from guys
Totally.
like him, and Gad does that. You know?
It's funny for me, like not coming up listening to most of the guys that you did. I think the thing that I really loved about this music was the fact that it isn't so
Sure.
like as admirable
Of
as
course.
playing like that
Yeah, yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all, you know. And I think that's probably the biggest impact for me. It's like, man, this guy's he gets such a great sound, the groove, but he never.
Well,
It's always so appropriate to the moment, you know.
yeah.
I mean, we were 47 minutes in, and I'm starting to finally. It sounds like his cymbals and hands are the percussion, like the triangle and the shaker,
Yeah.
and his kick and his snare, like the hand drummer who's cueing the band.
Ah,
There's like
Yeah.
no licks to it. It's just here we go. Here's the next thing, but he's still got the triangle and all that.
wow.
Stuff going.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to think of it.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's like an ensemble.
Yeah. Like a percussion section almost.
Yeah.
Or like the top is like the jazz section.
Yeah.
The bottom's
Oh
like the
yeah,
pop
there you
section.
go.
Yeah.
That's another way
Sure.
to
Combine
Yeah.
together.
And
Yeah.
they're just like intertwined. So
And it's I've said this 10 times already. There's this strength in
Totally.
in the this reserved strength.
Totally controlled.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man. Like I was playing a gig out of town a few months ago, and I went on this. I went on this big Jackets binge because I had found some old YouTube footage of them that I had never seen before. So I had like 2 flights, like in a week, like 2 different gigs, and all I did for like every flight was just listen to the Yellowjackets records, and I hadn't done that in a really long time. All the ones I grew up listening to, and then you start to hear things a little different. You're like, man, like it's every bit as good as I remember. And then I remember feeling like, man, Jimmy sounds even better than I remember. I was just like, man, everyone in the group is just
That's really cool.
so special, man.
It's cool when you revisit music that you listened to a long time ago, and not only does it hold up, but in some ways it's like that's even better than what I remember.
Yeah,
That's
all
amazing.
All the stuff you missed when you were
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah, your ears are different now.
And I'll say too, in jazz, fusion, whatever, like world music, jazz music, whatever this is, there aren't a lot of bands.
Oh, it's true.
That have this kind of
Identity
and that stick together for so long.
Yeah.
There's so much to hear of him within this.
Yeah.
Even if he never came back, there's like 10 or 11 records or something.
Yeah, his discography just with them is really wonderful. Yeah, man.
What happens later here at 3:38?
So it's just kind of the same section, but like
more
amped up a little bit,
okay.
playing a little louder.
So this is at 3:38 where it comes
Yeah, I just
back.
had to hear this part too.
Now, you all know that
Yeah.
if they made that record today with some young dude, it would have been.
Yeah,
And he's just playing the groove, and it's amazing. You know.
Yeah.
such a great sound.
But even those
too,
simple
man.
fills are like, they're still hard. They're
Absolutely.
simple, but they're so
They're
hard to
kind of
execute
more
to make.
Yes, absolutely.
Musical, yeah.
And to get that sound,
Yeah.
whew, no question.
Well, James, we got one more for you with these hands. Right? We haven't done
I
it.
would have. I would
do
have
that
picked this
one?
one.
Oh, you?
No, I didn't, but
Okay.
I would have. I'm just saying.
We haven't done it yet, right?
I'm just the hype man. I didn't pick anything. I'm like the Flavor Flav.
I tell you, I'm going to be cranking my snare drum, getting my little crashes out again, doing the whole thing. So 30 seconds in, once it starts here, to the song With These Hands off of Blue Hats. What's your favorite record before we go on?
If I
Greenhouse?
If I had to pick one, I would probably say Greenhouse. But they're all amazing.
You have a particular
I'll see like River.
Okay.
They're all amazing though.
With These Hands.
That's just another example of just how Will can play the kick on 2 and 4, and just with all this space, and I don't know, it's like a sonu reggae / something. I don't even know what to call it, but and then it's just magical. I don't know. It's the
That,
stuff he played on
I
tour.
don't think that could be anybody else. you
Yeah,
know?
no one plays like that.
Nobody plays like that.
I grew up playing with the Solomon Family's band, like the steel drum
Yeah,
band.
yeah.
And so we got to play some of these kind of like, calypso and soca and hinting at reggae at times, and it's just these different feels. So like, me getting into Will, it was like, oh man, I can take so much from this.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
And really taught me, I mean, he's just it's like one of my biggest teachers of how to play the
man.
instrument.
Where's he
I-
from? Do
yeah.
you know where he's from? Is he from an island?
The Bay Area.
Is he from the
Is
Bay
he from the Bay Area? I
Yeah.
don't know if I ever knew that. Is
Yeah.
he from
Yeah, I
San
think
Francisco?
so.
Because he came up playing with like Andy Narell out there, and like
Oh, okay.
and like got Ray Oviedo and some of those in this band called Montreux
Oh, wow.
was out there.
Man, I didn't.
Because I think I saw, I didn't know this. I don't know if you knew this, James. I listened to a podcast, a kind of recent podcast with him, and when he first started playing with the Jackets, he was just subbing for Ricky.
Really?
Did you know that?
No.
I never
he
knew
was
that.
subbing, and then Ricky was supposed to come back, and I think Ricky ended up getting like a Michael Jackson tour or something.
Yeah,
One of those
something big.
people he played with, Madonna, Michael Jackson, got extended, and Will stayed on. Then after a while, they were like, well, they kind of felt we have to keep going. I think so. Do you want to just do it? And he's like, of course, you know.
Wow. I never knew that.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. I never knew how that all went down.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm not sure which guy brought him in or I can't remember how he got in.
Maybe somebody recommended him or word of mouth, something like that.
So
I
last
think
one.
Yeah, go ahead. Same album.
It's Coquimba.
I don't know how to say it.
I think it's Coquimba.
Coquimbo. I'm terrible with that stuff.
That's
Goodness.
It's funny. We both said you said like a river's your favorite. I said Greenhouse is my favorite. We're picking all this stuff
I know,
off of Blue
Blue
Ass. Maybe we're lying to everyone.
That's good.
And what was the one CD I had? Run for Your
Run
Life.
for Your Life. Yep.
That was the only CD I had for a long time.
Yeah.
And nothing off of that. Interesting. You guys like the early stuff, that's why.
This is later.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. This is later than Run for Your Life. Just 2 records after.
No kidding. The album cover looks old.
That's because
Oh,
this stuff is getting old.
All right, so what happens here at 50 seconds in?
I can't remember.
All right,
It's just
here we go.
I don't remember the title.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
Space. Oh yeah. Check this out.
There you go, man.
Keep it going.
I mean, it's always sad to hear these short sets because I always want to just hear
The whole thing, yeah, man.
That's the whole point, everyone.
That's the point. Is check these records out.
Yeah, go get
you
these
know?
records, man.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Just what Throck was saying earlier, like there's obviously just so many drummers out there, but I feel like, Will has there's so much like foundational things to learn from him. You know what I mean? Because you see him explore all different types of grooves, 6/8, funk, and swing, but there's so much foundation in his playing and simplicity. So I think that's he's a good place to start, or amongst many, but yeah.
That's it. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. I am now in a Yellowjackets mode. Thank you very much.
And that is it for this week's episode. Hope you have some records to go check out. If you haven't listened to Yellowjackets in a while or ever, you're in for a treat. Go dig back through Will Kennedy's discography with them. Check out some of his stuff online. There's some pretty great videos of him as well. And don't forget to drop us a review and like and share. And if you're not subscribing to us on YouTube, make sure you do that. And also go to Drum Factory Direct, and we have a bunch of Zildjian merch that came in. There's some cool hats and stuff, so we're getting all that stuff listed on the site as quickly as possible. It's all for their 400th anniversary. So yeah, that plus all the usual parts and accessories are over on Drum Factory Direct. Get yourself a Drum Candy Podcast t-shirt. The first run is kind of running out. We're probably going to do some different colors next time. So what we have now is it's like an oxblood shirt with the full color logo on the front. So anyway, have a great week. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll see you next time.